Hello and welcome to HatchNOW. I'm Blake Menace. What will be the lasting impacts of the Black Lives Matter movement in America? How has COVID-19 affected the homeless community? And in the new world of social distancing, is virtual photography becoming a new norm? These are some of the things that we will look at today. But first, the mining industry has been a huge asset to the Australian economy. So how does it sit? Mansour Shukoor has been looking into this. Mansour, what have you found?
Well, as recently as 3 weeks ago, BHP has agreed to halt the destruction of 40 sacred sites within Australia. This comes following outrage over Rio Tinto's alleged destruction of a 45,000-year-old Indigenous site, which would have made room for a new mine. Nevertheless, the mining industry does prosper in the 2018-2019 financial year alone, generating a revenue of over $279 billion, making it Australia's fourth largest economic contributor. This positive economic impact, however, does come at a cost, with black coal mining companies using over 234 billion litres of water in 2019 alone, according to the Australian Water Association, affecting crucial water systems such as Warragamba Dam. Blake, we visited Warragamba Dam and saw firsthand a warrior nation with such strict water restrictions.
So, what exactly are the biggest environmental concerns in the mining industry?
Well, Blake, according to the Department of Environmental Heritage and Protection, the alleged refusal across the board by the major mining companies within Australia to rehabilitate the land they take advantage of is one of the major concerns. And according to the latest study by the Department of Environmental Heritage and Protection, the total cost is over $17 billion.
Now, are there plans for more mines to be built?
Well, Premier Gladys Berejiklian has stated that she will be opening a new mine within New South Wales, just 2 hours away from Sydney. And according to Illawarra Mercury, those opposed to the mine believe that this new mine could further waste 3 billion litres of water from crucial water systems such as Warragamba Dam, affecting small towns such as Wallachia. Wallachia is just a farming town just 5 minutes away from Warragamba. And we visited Wallachia and saw firsthand why this farming town needs water restrictions to be lifted. Nevertheless, those for the mine believe that this new mine could further add to the already 200,000 jobs already created by the mining industry, according to the latest ABS data. There is, however, backlash towards opening new mines in New South Wales due to controversy surrounding current active mines operated by Centennial Coal. Centennial Coal is situated in Sydney and currently have 5 mines operating within New South Wales. They employ over 1,700 people, according to their corporate website. Controversy, however, does come with Centennial Coal, with Sydney Morning Herald reporting that Centennial Coal has published the wrong emissions data in an official government report, further adding to the controversy around opening new mines within New South Wales.
So, what about green energy? Are there any thoughts on this?
Well, we spoke over email correspondence with Seaman, a former mining engineer who worked within the industry for just over a year, and his thoughts were that green energy infrastructure should be developed alongside the mining industry and believes that one does not have to cancel out the other. He believes that both industries can work hand in hand in harmony. And he cited Germany, the UK, and Spain as examples who currently have both coal and renewable energy, and believes that Australia can follow their footsteps.
Thank you, Mansour. And now to the Blue Mountains, where local residents are working to kickstart the economy. Abby Seaman has been speaking to the locals. As we understand, Abby, it's been a real struggle for them.
That's right, Blake. I'm up here in Katoomba in the Blue Mountains. And like many regions all over Australia, they've been struck by this COVID pandemic at the same time they were still reeling from the bushfires that we saw during the summer. The city of the Blue Mountains relies on tourism and usually generates $400 million per year and attracts 40 million visitors per year, according to the City Council. Obviously, these numbers are expected. However, locals haven't given up hope. I was actually able to speak to a group of residents who have created a guidebook highlighting all the best points in the Blue Mountains, titled "This Ain't the City." And when I spoke to the founder of the group, he told me that the book was really created just to showcase all the best bushwalking tracks to trail running tracks and all their favourite cafes, restaurants and accommodations.
So what has the community feedback been like, and how exactly did this book come about?
Well, Blake, the Blue Mountains is a very passionate community and people have been absolutely loving this guidebook. Really, what locals want to do is just showcase what they have to offer. And I think that's obvious from all the money that they've raised on Kickstarter that people are really loving this book. And hopefully that's a step in the right direction for the Blue Mountains region.
A great initiative there by the locals. Thank you, Abby. And now, over to the States, where the Black Lives Matter movement has gained international traction. Emma Gilman has been speaking to a local politician to hear how Americans have been responding.
Yeah, Blake, so it's been 6 weeks since George Floyd passed away, and Americans are proving that cases of race-related police brutality won't be going by as a passing news story again. I sat down with Robin Vickers, who's an elected member of the county board in Oswego, an exurb of Chicago, to get a bit of an insight into the mood over there and how Americans are responding in the wake of the movement.
So Emma, what are her thoughts on the media coverage so far?
Well, as Australians, we've been seeing really big picture responses, things like looting, rioting, and the deaths of both police officers and African Americans. But Robin Vickers says that the media have been missing really positive local responses. Robin herself has actually started a book club with around 50 Americans who are working through anti-racist strategies each week. There have been local peaceful protests that in towns with just a 90% Caucasian population who are standing up and showing solidarity for their African American neighbours. And of course, local politicians are working with the police to ensure that they're conducting safe arrests and strategies to keeping offenders out of the system. This has been a sentiment that's been echoed by the wider American community in the Defund the Police movement.
So for those of us who don't understand, what exactly is the Defund the Police movement?
Well, the Defund the Police movement is a really intimidating term, but what it's about is redirecting those police funds that are coming in quite huge amounts and putting them back into the community. So that'll be in programs like welfare, rehabilitation, and mental health services.
Personally, I'm working within the county because that's where I have a little bit of power, tiny bit, but to have some influence. So talking with our sheriff about what our policies are, how do we handle a traffic stop? What's the de-escalation techniques? Are they trained in crisis intervention? And, how do they keep from getting to the point where they're pinning someone on the ground or they're having to shoot at someone?
Police are receiving plenty of money. It's just really looking at a proactive response to crime rather than a reactive response.
Thank you, Emma. And now, a little closer to home, where Ashley Riordan has been looking into the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on the homeless community. Ashley, how hard has this hit them?
Extremely hard, Blake. With businesses such as libraries, restaurants and cafes closed, these people have nowhere to stop for a bite to eat, nowhere to receive news, their health problems have shot up, and with none of them on Centrelink, they aren't receiving any financial aid.
So Ashley, how have the rates of homelessness changed since COVID-19, and what is the government doing about this?
Well, so far we've seen little to no help coming from the Australian government in terms of helping these people. But comparing that to the Canadian government, for example, we've seen help, housing and financial aid being sent out. I spoke to Dr. Kathy Crow, who is an expert in homelessness, and this is what she had to say about the rates of the homeless community.
The homeless rates have grown quite a lot. We have in Toronto probably about 50 encampments, 50 encampments in parks. I was at one today where there's easily 60 tents and 100 people. And in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada, they have multiple encampments as well, or more people that are homeless, and 46 people were arrested today because they refused to move from the encampment. And with the economic issues, the economy, job loss, we're expecting, around the world, a massive number of people becoming homeless. In Toronto, we have we reached 600 people as of Monday this week that had gotten COVID-19 19. That's just in Toronto. And we've had 4 deaths, and the numbers are probably much higher, but we just don't know them yet. The one good thing that's happened is a group of a legal coalition got together, and we took the city to court to force them to move beds and cots and mats 2 meters or 6 feet away from each other. And that resulted in a lot of decrowding, of more spacing in the shelters. And the city has also acquired over 1,000 hotel rooms to use to allow people to physically distance as well. And they've also acquired a couple of apartment buildings as short-term leases. So that has helped. Much easier to sleep in a place with 40 people instead of 100, for example.
So as we can see, the Canadian government is definitely helping the homeless a lot more than the Australian government. And we definitely need to see more happening locally, and we hope it happens soon.
Thank you, Ashley. And finally, virtual photography is becoming popular. Now social media is encouraging us to stay at home. Talya, this sounds exciting.
It really is exciting, Blake. So in the world of COVID-19, people in the arts and entertainment industries have really had to get creative to find work in socially distanced environments. Thanks to 21st century technology and some creative minds, virtual photo shoots via FaceTime, Skype, and even Zoom have become increasingly popular.
So talk me through this. How exactly does it work, and do you think it's here to stay?
Yeah, so virtual photo shoots are actually pretty simple. The photographer can use a video calling software of their choice, whether it be FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, or something else, and either screenshot the images or use the live image capture via FaceTime. After speaking to a number of photographers recently, it is believed this is a trend that will die out. However, COVID has ultimately opened up a number of doors to be able to shoot with people from across the world. An example of this in pop culture recently was with Kylie Jenner and her young daughter Stormy, who featured on the cover of Vogue Czechoslovakia's magazine, in which the whole shoot was done via Zoom.
Now that's really interesting. Is there any money in this?
Well, Blake, I spoke to best friends Jean and Shakira, who grew up together in Hong Kong, and they are both photographers. And here's what they had to say on the future of virtual photography.
I think both has got its pros and cons. I'd say I probably enjoy doing it in person more because I actually get to connect with the person I'm shooting with.
They can honestly do it themselves. Through self-timer, I don't know, with someone else just guiding them to pose through it, I guess. But if their skills are really good and they can manage to get high quality photos, high quality edits, then I don't see why not.
So as you can see, there are positives to it despite having to carry out a shoot from halfway across the world. They do both agree that it is unlikely a photographer can make an income and a living solely off virtual photography. However, if they apply their new techniques learnt to their current practice, it can actually be pretty successful.
And have you seen this in action?
I actually have, Blake. So I do a little bit of photography myself, and in carrying out a virtual photo shoot, I found it quite interesting. The quality of the call itself isn't that great. However, the photos actually turned out okay. If the model uses their back camera on their phone and stabilizes it even in something as simple as a tissue box, which is what we used, it can actually be quite fun.
It's great to see creativity during these times. Thank you, Talya. And that's all we have time for now. I'd like to thank all of our reporters, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.